What this dude did to his own mother is going to shock you. It'll probably make you puke, because when the police walked into the bathroom of his home, they literally said it was the type of stuff of nightmares, and it definitely probably made them puke. And if it made the cops puke, it'll make you puke. And it had to do with this type of stuff. Stick around to the end, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I think should happen to the person who did this horrible crime to his own mom. Lana Brown Bradley, a beautiful mother and a respected member of her community, a school teacher, the type of person that influences lives in a positive way everywhere she goes. That's the person that Lana was. And if she's impacting an entire community, take a look at her face. Because this is the face of a woman who has invested her time, effort, and energy into making her community a better place. She did all the right things in life. She raised her children. She had a profession and a career. And all of a sudden, when you do everything good, it usually happens that somebody closest to you does the most unthinkable act because they're crazy or inappreciative or a mixture of both. And that's exactly what happened to Lana. And that person was her son. Viewer discretion is advised. Some of the details in this case are extremely disturbing. So think before you go forward, because I'm going to get into some very graphic details. This is the story. So this story starts where most tragic stories like this often do, and that is with a missing person. Lana was missing and her eldest son was concerned, so he called the Adams County Sheriff's Department on April 4th of this year to do a welfare check on his mother. And the Sheriff's Department did what they usually do. They sent out a patrol car and a deputy got there and he met the eldest son and they went to check the property. And as they go to check the property, immediately as the sheriff's officer pulls up, you can almost feel a portentous and uncanny vibe in the atmosphere. The kind of stuff that makes the hairs on your arm kind of stand up. You know the feeling when something isn't quite right, but it's not that it's just not quite right. It's that it's uncanny, it's eerie, and those hairs stand up. And that's what happened when this deputy pulled up on the location of Lana's house. He gets met out there with her son, and her son is quoted as saying, and that's unlike her, not to call or answer her text messages or get back in touch with her. So he felt in his gut something was wrong, said the sheriff, Patton. Within minutes of reaching the home, law enforcement believed something was wrong because the home didn't look right. And the question I have for you is, how do you get to a location as a deputy? And if you are a deputy, I'm very interested. I would like you to share in the comments. When you get to a person's home to do a welfare check, how do you get to the location and you feel like something's quite not right? You see what I mean? Because you really don't know the house and you really don't know the family, and you're being sent there just to do a welfare check, and you're a police officer, so you do this often. But this time, something didn't quite feel right. And what they uncovered verifies and solidifies the feeling that this deputy felt when he pulled up on his property. Sheriff Patton explained and said, and I quote, "As soon as they walked in the house, they could just see where somebody had been cleaning up, and they could smell chemicals all throughout the house. Floors were extremely slippery." End of the quote. When you hear those words and you envision the smell, the sight, the sound, quiet. There's no noise, but there's a smell of chemicals. But that smell of chemicals is masking something darker, something deeper, something portentous, something evil. And what you see, you know isn't right, because it seems like everything stands still in time. It's almost as if the house is a snapshot of what happened, but the action of that happening is no longer happening. And now you just have a still image where all the live actors are no longer there. The people, the suspects, the victims are gone because something's being hidden. And instantly, a deputy, a police officer, is trained to recognize this. So his antenna went up. His hair stood up. My hair stood up. Where's Lana? And why is the floor so slippery? And why is her car keys sitting on the kitchen counter next to her purse and her phone? We always know when we watch true crime stories that one sign that something isn't right, and possibly and usually something that's really bad, is when the car keys, the phone, and the purse are all sitting next to one another on the kitchen counter. And the deputy notices that, and he notices that there's no signs of Lana, and the car's still parked outside, and everything's quiet. But there's also someone else missing that should be here, and that's Lana's youngest son. Zachary Lavel Jackson Jr. is not at home, and the eldest brother tells the officer he's usually here. He's always here. He doesn't do anything. He just stays at home, living in his mother's house. And as we find out later, doing a lot of nothing except causing his mother grief and agony. As the deputy and Lana's eldest son are taking in everything and trying to figure out what's going on, and I'm sure the gears inside their mind are processing and spinning in all kinds of directions, something happens. Something breaks the silence. They hear water splashing in the distance, coming from downstairs in the basement. So the deputy takes charge and leads the way with the eldest son. And they go downstairs and knock on the bathroom door. And everything pauses because it's almost like whatever was going on in the bathroom was startled and got quiet, but you could still hear splashing water. If you're in there, open the door. And the deputy says, if you're in there, Zachary, open the door. And Zachary's brother says, Zachary, what's going on, man? Where's mom at? And eventually, slowly, hesitantly, as we now know, Zachary eventually opens the bathroom door. And when the deputy looks in, he sees something that looks off. And he says, Zachary, come on, man, come with me. They escort Zachary out the house. The deputy makes a phone call to the sheriff, and the sheriff sends out more people. They do a sweep of the house. They tape the house off, but they still can't find Lana. But Zachary, he looks like, as you've seen in the pictures, disheveled, like something's off. Something really was off. And so they begin canvassing outside. Family members begin showing up, friends, colleagues, concerned community members, and more police, because Lana lives on a beautiful piece of property. And they begin canvassing the area with different groups. And as they're canvassing the area, there's a creek behind the house. And all of a sudden they hear, ah! A scream that sends shockwaves of shivers into people's bones. And those hairs start standing up on everybody because that was that blood-curdling scream. And the next thing that everyone heard, I found a head! I found a head! That's not words anyone wants to hear when you're searching for someone that you're hoping to find. You don't want to hear those words. And instantly, the police rush to the area, and there they have a human head. And they instantly pulled everybody out of the wooded area, taped everything off, and now only the police department is beginning to search, because now they have a human head a dismembered head, and it's an active crime scene, and they still don't know what Lana's at. And then they find a suitcase in the same wooded area. And while this is going on, there are other deputies and detectives who are getting on the scene, and they go into the bathroom. And when they go into the bathroom where Zachary was found, they look in the toilet and they see something that they've never seen before. And I'm going to let the sheriff tell you exactly what he saw.
We found her. We found where he started to dispose of her at, and we had to get excavators out to get the rest of her.
So he spread her body parts over the property?
No. He had body parts in the suitcase, and then he flushed the rest down the toilet.
They had to call in a plumbing company with an excavator to dig up the remains of Lana that were in the drainage pipes underneath her home. In all likelihood, put there by her own son. I'm putting this in perspective because I want you to understand how heinous and evil this crime is. By the hands of her youngest son. She carried him in her womb for 9 months, gave birth to him, and he was born, and she was filled with joy. She was filled with happiness. She saw that this boy was going to be somebody someday. She had dreams and aspirations like all of our parents do when we're born. But nobody thinks that that bundle of joy is going to be your worst nightmare. And that's what happened to Lana. And unfortunately, this story plays itself over and over and over and over and over again in our communities. As you know, the Pen and The Shank is the most unusual and unique crime and prison channel experience on YouTube. And we cover crimes that are disturbing. And part of me being authentic with you is letting my emotions flow sometimes. And that's what's happening here, because I'm thinking about this woman who died violently by the hands of her youngest son. What were her thoughts? I bet that she still loved that boy. And he just went wayward. He let demons take over his mind and demons take over his heart. And he acted out like this. And there was something going on. And he was 29 years old, living at home with his mother. And his siblings knew that he was off, and mom knew he was off. And if you listen to some of the family members and friends of the family speak after this is over, and there's a lot of information coming out, that Zachary had some mental issues. He had some mental health issues, but his mom loved. When only your mom wants to take you in, how do you turn your hands to take out your own mother and then flush her down a toilet? After you dismembered her and chopped her to pieces to hide the sick and evil act that you committed. And you're so wicked and the mind is so depraved that after you take her life, your mother's life, you decide to try to hide her and get rid of her as if the only thing that matters is you not getting caught. That is never a sign of I'm sorry. That's a sign of pure evil, and there's no way around it. Zachary Lavel Jackson Jr. has been charged with first-degree murder, second-degree murder, mayhem, and tampering with physical evidence. I'm sure we're going to hear more about this case as it unfolds, and as we get closer to the trial in Mississippi, we'll find out more details about this case as the detectives begin to figure out what happened And I'm sure when this goes to trial, all that information will come out. And I said in the beginning of the video that I would tell you my thoughts and what I think should happen to Zachary. And I think even though he had mental health issues, capital punishment is a fair and just punishment. And there's no other way around it. Capital punishment is justice due for what he did. We can't allow people like Zachary to do this in our society and not go unpunished to the full and maximum extent allowable by law. And last I checked, Mississippi still has capital punishment. And I'm assuming that the prosecution is going to go for the death sentence. We'll see how this plays out. But there's something else that I wanted to do. And I wanted to take a moment. This is the most important part of the video. By the way, I do have respect and sympathy towards the family. And my heart and my prayers go out to them because this is tragic. This is a picture of Lana when she was young. And we saw a picture of her when she was older throughout the video, but I saved this picture toward the end. This is the one they put on her obituary, and it says, Mrs. Lana Bradley, March 12, 1964, April 2nd, 2026. This story really bothers me, man, that a son could do this to his mom. Because I think about my mother, and she's no longer with me, and what I would do to have a moment with my mom to tell her I love her again. And I'm sure her eldest son feels the same way. And now he's going to miss his mom, and he lost a brother. Lana was born on March 12, 1964 in Natchez, the daughter of Leonia Stevenson Bradley and Saul Johnson. She received her Bachelor of Arts in English Communications and her Master's of Arts in Secondary English Education from Alcorn State University. She later earned a Master's of Arts in Early Childhood Education with a concentration in Reading and Gifted Education, as well as a Specialist in Education degree, both from Jackson State University. Lana was a member of Living Word Worship Center and Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. And she was also affiliated with the Mississippi Association of Gifted Students. In her spare time, she enjoyed writing poetry. She was preceded in death by her parents, sister Willina Bradley, and brother Leon Matthews Bradley Jr. Lena leaves to cherish her memories, sons Marino McDaniel, Michaelia McDaniel, and Zachary Jackson, daughter Zuri Brown, brothers Lauren Bradley, Saul Williams, Victor Johnson, and Larry Applewhite, sister Dr. Leon Melissa Bradley, Maddie Johnson, Yolanda Bradley, Zelda Chapman, Carissa Toussaint, and Aretha Williams, and a host of nieces, nephews, cousins, extended family, and friends. To send flowers of a memorial gift to the family of Mrs. Lana, please visit our sympathy store. And I went on there and I looked, and the amount of candles and flower gifts that are in there, computer ones, digital, is amazing. This woman had a lot of support and a lot of love. And it's unfortunate that we have to hear stories like this. But I want to be able to give, and if you want to go check it out and leave something on Lana's site, she does have a GoFundMe, so you can probably go look up Lana Bradley, and her obituaries on Westgate Funeral Home, and that's in Mississippi. You could probably go on the website and you can leave a digital candle or some flowers. This is a sad case, and I just want to take a moment, and a moment of silence for Lana. I'm sorry this happened to her. We have to do better in our communities, and that's what I want to end this video with. If you know someone who has mental health issues and you know something is not right, do everything you could to try to get that person to seek professional help. And if, because it does often happen that you can't get professional help, then Learn what it takes about that person to be aware of anything that triggers them so that you yourself can be safe and your loved ones can be safe. Because often a mother is willing to put herself in danger for her child. And Lana was actually trying to have her son evicted. She had reached a point to where she was probably exhausted with him. And that happens. I've seen it happen. Sometimes you have to be willing to say, hey, mom, hey, friend, don't enable this person, your son or your daughter, who is doing unhealthy things. There's story after story after story of people that I know where a mother puts herself in harm's way for a child. Often you see mothers go to prison for their children. If you have a mom, don't put your mom in jail. Don't put her in harm's way. And definitely never, ever think of doing something that's horrible to your mother. She brought you into this world. And that's all I got to say about that. Give me a like, subscribe, and comment. Unfortunately, this video is somber, but there's hope. We all still have hope.